This is how I roll in the garden. Serious gardeners need serious... My friends and family have asked me numerous times what I consider to be essential tools to have around the garden. Now, you've already seen the kneeling pad that's on the floor underneath me. I'm getting a little older. I need that cushion. But we've got a whole kit here. I brought this from home, and these are the tools I use continually year-round in the garden, and I like to have them in this little cart so it makes them easy to haul around with me in the garden wherever I am, and they're always available to me whenever I need them. I don't have to keep running back to the shed to find something else. Now let's start with some cutting tools to begin with. One of the things I consider to be essential is a good quality set of pruning shears. I use Felco's. There are plenty of them out there. If they're less than $10, they're garbage. Get a good one. Now, Felco's is a Swiss-made brand, and you can see by mine that they have really been used over the years. They're a little bit rusty, and if you want to, you can get some navel jelly, that sort of thing, to take rust off of these sorts of tools. But you need to keep a good sharp edge on the blade for them to work well for you. And there's a special way to sharpen these things. I just happen to have a little sharpening tool that I picked up at the store, and you want to put your sharpening on the outside of the blade. And if you look real closely at this blade, you'll see there's a little bit of an edge that the factory put on there, and that's what you want to maintain. Now you'll just take this tool and you'll mimic the angle of that blade edge that the factory put on there, and just run it across your blade until it no longer catches, till you get a nice smooth stroke where it's not grabbing onto the blade. And it may be a little tough at first, but then it'll start up and you'll get a nice smooth stroke, and that'll sharpen your blade. Now you can also use a whetstone, you can use a grinding wheel on these things. There's any number of ways to do this. I like something that's portable so that out in the middle of the garden, I'm not going to have a grinding wheel. Something like this works nicely. I also like to have a little pair of what I call garden scissors. They're nice and pointy, they get into places, and I use these for deadheading things. When perennials go out of flower, when annuals go out of flower, things are done blooming, like peonies. They're ugly when they're done blooming. These sorts of things come in there real easy to just take those heads off and leave the foliage, and your plants will be much better looking and healthier that way. If you've got a hedge, you'll need one of these, but in the perennials, I use them as well, especially this time of year when I'm cutting things back from last summer. And you just start at the top, cut down in small increments all the way down the plant, and leave that stuff lay as mulch. You can throw your bark mulch or decorative mulch over the top of it. I also like a head shears where the handles have a nice wide opening in between, so that as you're working, you're not banging your knuckles together. I hate those things when you're banging your knuckles together. It's not comfortable, it makes the job unpleasant, and you just probably would end up not doing it. So get a good quality one like this where you keep your knuckles apart. Another couple of good loppers, especially if you have any trees or shrubs in the yard. A short-handled pair and a long-handled pair for reaching. I like the bypass types. They give you the best cut on trees and shrubs, on woody stems. And again, you sharpen these the same way I showed you on the Felco's. Keep a good sharp edge on them, and they'll last you years and years, and they'll make pruning very easy on you. Now, digging tools, there's plenty of things that you can choose from. Let's start with the small stuff. Let's start with trowels. Those of you who are doing patio gardens, deck gardens, gardening in containers. A trowel is pretty essential for you for digging up and fluffing up that soil every year and cultivating in between the plants during the season. Now, I like stainless steel. A good quality stainless steel trowel will last you forever, and a nice good sturdy handle that you get a lot of gription on, so it's not moving around in your hand while you're using it. That's what causes the blisters. There again, it makes it unpleasant. This one also has some markings on it to tell me how deep I'm digging, so if I'm planting tulips or daffodils in the fall, I can get them at the proper depth. Another favorite of mine is this little narrow trowel. It's actually more like a weeder for me. I use it all over the place, in the lawn, in the vegetable garden, in the perennial beds. You could also use it for taking weeds out between patio stones and planting things in narrow crevices in rock gardens. And then there are a whole bunch in between here. I kind of collect trowels. Pretty much every one I see I buy, so I've got a bucket full of them. Let's see, what else can I show you here in my little bag of tricks? Some other digging tools. Let's go up a little bit larger. This isn't a full-size spade. That's what I would call a border spade. And it's just for that. It's for using in the perennial border for digging up perennials that need to be divided or moved. And this disturbs a minimum amount of soil so it doesn't bother your other perennials while you're doing that. Then you'd move up to a full-size spade, which would be this guy. You can see the difference here. See the difference in size of the blade. Now, this is the full-size blade. I choose to get a good quality one, and the way you can tell a good quality spade is you've got this closed back, and that makes this whole joint right here much, much stronger. Now, this has been used for years and years, and there's got a lot of rust on it and so forth. Some of you say, I don't like rust on my tools, and that's tough sometimes. They just get rusty with age, but if it's a good quality tool, you can keep it for years. If you don't like rust, you can switch over to something like stainless steel. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's good, long lasting, and it never has that rust problem. But regardless of which one you choose, keeping an edge on them is really important in digging in the garden and making it easy on you, on your back, on your arms, on your shoulders. A good sharp cutting tool or digging tool is what you need to use. And you can see this silver edge. That's the edge I have, the sharpening edge I have on my shovels. And what you want to do is you kind of want to go to a 45-degree angle to the blade. So this would be 90 degrees, halfway down would be 45. That's the angle you want to use when you're putting an edge on your shovel. And you just take your metal file here, which I always have in my cart, and you just stroke it this way. Put it on the top edge here, not on both sides, just one side. And as you're doing that, that puts a good edge right there. It's a good sturdy edge that way. And keep your file in your bucket. With your garden hoe, you want to put a good edge on that too. The same exact way you do it on your garden hoe. You want to put it on the edge that's farthest away from you. Not the one that's close to you, but the farthest away edge. Put the same sort of a sharpened edge on that. Let's see, what else have I got to show you in my little bag of tricks? Oh, gloves. Everybody should wear gloves. My wife used to harp at me all the time about wearing gloves, and I always used to tell her, oh, real men don't wear gloves. But guess what? They do. And what I found that I like the best, instead of big, expensive, heavy leather gloves or deerskin or that sort of thing, is I've actually gone to these cotton gloves, nice and cool on the back of your hands. On the front side here, on the palm side, you've got this rubbery coating. It gives you good gription out in the garden, especially when tools are wet. They have a tendency to be slippery. And again, if things are moving around in your hand while you're using them, that's what causes the blisters and the painfulness later on. So get a good quality gloves. These are cheap. They're practically disposable. Keep them for a week or two. When they wear out, get another pair. That's easy to find in all your garden centers. Oh yes, I wanted to mention a long-handled rake. This is an essential tool for every gardener, especially if you're digging a vegetable garden or planting an annual bed. Once you've got it all dug up, you want to level it and break up all the clods. A good bow rake is what this is called. This is a good one to have for the garden. And finally, a digging fork. You might wonder, why would I need a digging fork? Well, this is one of the best tools you can use in the vegetable garden and anywhere else where you're digging in compost. If you're mixing compost with the soil, this will mix it faster than a shovel. So get a good quality one of these. I always go with stainless steel on these. They don't bend up so much, and they don't rust. And you don't have to put a point on them. You don't have to put a sharpened edge on them. So you just take them the way they are. So that's pretty much what I consider my basic arsenal of tools. That is a minimum amount that you're going to need to do a good job of gardening and make it easy on yourself to get these chores done around the yard. You don't have to have something fancy like my little cart here. You can just use a 5-gallon paint bucket with a handle on it. That works great too. Carry a lot of these tools around with you in the yard. Make it easy on yourself. That's the key. Now stick around. If you've ever been baffled about looking at the wall of products in a garden center for weed killers and fertilizers and insecticides and fungicides, we're going to help you out with that and make it just a little simpler.